Yes, indeed. Welcome into another episode of Total Hockey Now here on the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel. That over there is at Fuzzy Chris 91. Right over here is at Pucking Thoughts Adam Bernard. It is a stretch run here for the Stanley NHL regular season. I know it's MLB opening day. It's also the first day of the NCAA hockey tournament here in the States, leading up to the Frozen Four in a couple of weeks. BU already a big winner over Ohio State 8-3. Ohio State had a 3-1 lead at that point, and then I guess the coffee kicked in for BU, scoring 7 straight goals there to win the first game of the tournament. And as Chris tells me before the show, it is the Blue Jays are picking up where they left off. It sounds like.
I mean, good news if you're a Blue Jays fan. At least the Toronto Maple Leafs play late at night, and at least they're good. So, Leafs will get bounced in the first round. Don't get it twisted, but at least they're fun to watch during the year. And I need some performances tonight from some Joseph Woles, if possible. That'd be great.
So you're teasing two things there without realizing it. Number one, we're going to give our final standings and playoff bracket predictions as things stand right now. And we're going to go through the 10-game slate like we usually do and give our picks, leans, or games we're totally staying away from. I'll tell you one that I'm totally staying away from right now is the Red Wings Senators. Both of those teams right now are like, I can make an argument for over, under. I can make it. We're not touching. I ain't touching that one. That's for sure. Yeah, so it is opening day, but I have college hockey on the television right now. Baseball for me is a bridge between the end of the Stanley Cup final and kickoff of the NFL season. I do one fantasy baseball league, and other than that, my baseball just is
I have a couple. I mean, fantasy baseball is fun. Fantasy baseball is a grind, so it kind of prepares me for next year's hockey. Like if those of you who play it religiously, like I have a lot of friends who love it, as they should. Baseball is a great sport to go to and watch with somebody who could care less about sports, because you could have an entire conversation, you haven't missed a single thing. So perfect sport to bring somebody who doesn't care about it. If you want to get out to the ballpark, there's lots of great things to do instead of actually watching the sport itself. But yeah, I got a couple of them. I just, you know what I mean? Just keeping track here. This is the time of the year, though, where some of you are going to fall asleep at the wheel. NHL Fantasy Hockey Playoffs have started. You didn't come as a famous Kim Kardashian once says, I didn't come this far just to come this far. Finish up.
And here's the thing, the fantasy baseball league I'm in is a weekly league, and I know some people will trash weekly lineup leagues, but when we first went to a weekly format many years ago, I didn't like it, but now that it's like the third sport for me, I'm so thankful. I just set my lineup Monday morning before first pitch. Whatever happens. I can still do my way and all that other stuff. But anyway, we're going to talk hockey here today, of course, fantasy hockey playoffs. Yeah, and that's the other thing, too. I got people in dynasty football leagues offering me these big blockbuster trades. I'm like, dude, I got baseball draft. I've got fantasy hockey playoffs. There's no way I'm making a move for like a Justin Jefferson right now with all that going on. You got to come back to me in a couple of weeks. Just ain't happening. But let's get to the our first segment like we always love here. Quick hits here. Let's run through the NHL news for the day and the week. And, of course, Alexander Ovechkin Ovometer here at 889. He's got 6 to go. Tonight they're in Minnesota. Then they got games coming up against Buffalo and Boston here. I guess the main question is, 11 games to go, 6 goals. Are we going to see it before the end of the regular season? That's the question we ask every week.
Seems more and more likely. I mean, he's cooking. I'm afraid if he does it, then he retires. He doesn't come back next year, and I don't get to see him in person.
He will come back next year. That is folk show. If he is short of the record.
If he's short of the record, yes. But if he scores 7 and 11, maybe he's like, well, you know what I mean? Go home with his sons and his wife, hang out in Russia, drink Russian vodka and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, what left does he have to accomplish? So
if you look at their remaining schedule, there are more games where he can light the lamp than versus not. Like, all right, going to Minnesota tonight, going to be a tough one. They play tough defense. Gustafson starting. Got Buffalo, Boston. Those are 2 possibilities. We get some. Carolina, maybe they clamp down. Chicago, he's going to score. New York Islanders, Carolina, Columbus, and back-to-back Islanders, Penguins. The schedule certainly seems like he's shaping up to get the record here before the end of the season.
He's got this in the bag. I want him to do it. I just want him to do it next year so I can get out and watch him. But if the OB meter doesn't slow down, that's okay. You know what I mean? He's right there. He's right there. So I'll be tuning into that one once he's like a couple away. Because you can't even wait till he's like a goal or two away because you could easily score 3, and then you're like, oh, I missed it. So gotta lock in for some of those soon.
Well, we'll see what happens here down the stretch, and we'll see what happens with Minnesota tonight. We'll talk more about that game later on in the program here. While we're on the Capitals, earlier in the week, they signed Jacob Chikrin to an 8-year, $72 million extension. Soon to be 27-year-old, was set to become an unrestricted free agent. Posted a career high 43 points in 65 games so far, with his 18 goals being also a career high. So his next one was tied for a career high. His next one, he'll break that. So, Washington just showing that, like, oh, when Ovechkin walks off into the sunset, whenever that is, it's not like, okay, they're crumpling up the paper, throwing it away, and starting over. They're just trying to, again, and I got to be very careful how I say this so you don't get taken out of context. I'm not saying Alexander Ovechkin is replaceable, but a top scoring winger on a top line is replaceable. And I think that's what the Capitals are trying to do here, is they will try to plug that hole with the best possible, wing option or left wing, and just kind of pick up where they left off. You're not signing Jacob Chikrin to that extension if that's not part of the plan.
Good for him for getting the deal. At first, I was like, that seems like a lot of money for Jacob Chikrin. And then I remember the good folks over at Cap Friendly now work for them. So, looking at the turnaround that this team has had this season, I guess I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, because last year they were frauds, and this year they are legit. And they've gone out, they've gotten some players. It has worked out extremely well for them. So I will give them the benefit of the doubt to start. Look, they've done their part.
John Carlson's 35 years old. This is their number. This is their top pairing defenseman for the next, probably starting next year. Like, I know, he's been, in the second and the third pairing. Next year, he's probably going to be on that top pairing, and for the foreseeable future. You don't sign a guy to that deal if he's not, especially when you're arguably your top defenseman right now is 35. So
there you go. Smart to lock him up, whatever the money is. If he produces like he does, great. Jacob Chikrin used to be absolutely fantastic when he was in Arizona. He was great. Guy who could block shots, guy who could rack up points, take a bunch of shots. He was a DFS just staple because you knew his floor was so high. And then he went to Ottawa, like all good things in Ottawa. They die. And now he's found a resurgence
in our nation's capital.
Yeah, he went from one nation's capital to another, and it's working out pretty well for him. It's good for him.
Good for him. Not as a Ranger fan, I don't like seeing the Capitals prosper, but here we are. They're going to have the eventual Jack Adams winner for this year, and Spencer Carberry. And they just, I don't think that we'll reveal who's going to win the championship later. Neither one of us have the Caps winning the cup. But I think they're setting themselves up for multiple attempts at a cup over here in the next few years. A team that is not going to be set up for cup runs here in the next few years, the Philadelphia Flyers. John Tortorella, no surprise here, been relieved of his duties. They're about to miss the playoffs for the 5th straight season. Brad Shaw, who's an associate coach there, is going to take over on an interim basis. Torts had 1 year left on his contract. 97, 107, and 33 in his 3 seasons there. Currently, the Flyers on a 6-game losing streak and have lost 11 of 12. So, yeah, no surprise that's how things ended this year for the Flyers. And, I don't know if we'll ever see Tortorella coach again. That might be his last stop.
I don't think he wants to coach. He was so dejected after that loss. He's like, I'm not here to – look, hate him or love him, I love his honesty. I hope he just showed up on, TV. He was just like, I'm not learning anything at this point. Like, you're saying that. I can't imagine the rest of the players in that locker room just being like, yeah, Torch, just don't yell at me. And the shame, I guess, here is that the Flyers waited this long to get rid of him because it probably costs Bichkov Rookie of the Year because he had to be saddled down by John and making sure he's not dishing out the Michigans and not giving him a ton of ice time and worrying about his defensive responsibilities and playing him 13 minutes a night. So, I mean, hey, good for John, though. Look, he is a character. I hope he ends up on TV somewhere. Just I don't want him to do color, obviously, because he can't. just the amount of F-bombs that would drop there would be too much. But like one of those like pregame shows, get him on. Like he did a little bit of TSA here. I want to see him on TNT with Biz, Liam, and Ace. That's where I want him. That's what we need.
So here's the thing. Tortorella is an in-game analyst. You also have to not be done with the traveling aspect of the job because you are getting on a plane a couple of times, but once or two. He's done with that. As a studio analyst, yeah. Have hit like if they've got 2 nights a week where they've got games, you make sure that one of them locked in every week is Biz and Torts together. Sit them next to each other because you might get a fit. You might get a punch thrown. You might. I love that idea. And here's the thing about keeping Tortorella so long. Flyers currently sit at 65 points, dead last in the Metro. But the way Columbus and Pittsburgh are playing, the Flyers are going to finish down there. There's no doubt about that. They're not a Blackhawks bad. They're not a Sharks bad. But when you look at other teams near them, the Sabres have 64 points and have been playing hockey lately, been playing slightly better. You know, the Kraken are at 66 points. If the Flyers can clinch the third best odds at the top overall pick, I think that's why you keep Torts as long as you have, because now they're in that. They weren't in that category before this 11 to 12.
They should have just kept them. Finish it out. Run it to the ground. Take the car and literally put it in the ocean. Let's go. Sink it.
Can't be too obvious here. So we'll see. But nonetheless, you know, before we move on to the next topic here, State of Survival checking in. Do you hear about the Islanders might be selling to the guy that owns the Mets? That's Steve Cohen. Isles might have a fire sale. And yeah, that's generally what happens when you sell a team, get those assets down, make the profit, and then but I'll say this, and I'm a Yankee fan, so I can't speak as a Met fan, but watching them as a crosstown team and having many friends and family who are Met fans, Cohen is the owner they needed for so long after Fred Wilpon and his inability to want to open his wallet and spend on a team and act like they're a small market team when you have New York your title. You can't do that. Even if you are second fiddle to the Yankees, Cohen spends on the team. The best thing that could happen to the Islanders is if Steve Cohen buys them, because now you'll start to see a team that may actually want to compete with the Rangers. And, oh, look at the Devils. You know, if it wasn't for a Jack Hughes injury, we might be talking about the Devils as a team that could pull off upsets in the first round or two. Obviously not going to be the case now, but, you know, you see what's happening across town, and the Islanders in my lifetime have never been they've gotten to the conference finals a couple of times. They've had their runs, but they've never truly been a Stanley Cup contender. Literally since I was born, because the year I was born was the last of the 4 years of their dynasty.
First of all, what fire sale? What are they selling? At best, they're a garage sale. That's what the Islanders are. I'm not looking at that line. Look, man, I'm not looking at that team going, "Hey, you guys got a ton of assets. I want that team has." I know there's some pieces there that will show up at some point, but I just don't care for the Islanders. When I watched them. Yeah, they played yesterday. Between them and was it them and Vancouver? I think they played yesterday. Yes, because I needed Vancouver to do their job, which they did. But I'm not gonna lie, I was watching that game in and out, and I was like, man, I can't believe I'm addicted to trying to find out if the Canadiens are gonna make the playoffs. That I'm watching this. So
that's what this time of the year does. All of a sudden, a matchup that if I told you in October you're going to be watching in March, you tell me to get the fuck out of here. Oh, no, you got popcorn. You're in. You're invested.
And I went through all kinds of emotions because the Islanders at one point were winning. I mean, Quinn Hughes said it best one of his interviews. He's like, I can't defend a 2-on-1. And then on that shorthanded goal, I was like, I mean, homie's not lying. And then here come, you know, the Canucks, and they look decent. And Thatcher Demko had to save the day in the first. And it was just a wild time of emotions. But I still did enjoy watching that.
That's why this is like, I know the playoffs are the best hockey of the year, but this hockey, right? Because it basically, when you look at the NHL schedule every night, there's like 1 or 2 games that really have no meaning, and everything else has some sort of meaning to it. So that's what's great. Now, the Minnesota Wild going to have Kirill Kaprizov. He's been resumed skating. He's still week to week, 52 points in 37 games this season prior to the injury. If they get him back in time for a first-round series with the Vegas Golden Knights, and spoiler alert, we both have Vegas beating Minnesota in the first round on our brackets. If Kaprizov is ready to go, not like lingering, like getting back in the game shape, like he's ready to fire game 1, can they beat the Golden Knights? I mean, I know Vegas is strong at home, but they're weak at home. Vegas would have the home ice, but can they win 1 in Vegas?
Possible. Vegas just has more depth. We have to find out what's happening with Thomas Hertl, but
Yeah.
Vegas just has more depth. They're just like their goaltending is better. Defensively, they're better. They have more depth down the middle. They're a more complete hockey team. It's also really sad that Kaprizov's only played 37 games this year.
It's crazy. And he was on pace. He might have been a Hart finalist the way he was playing. He was on pace for that.
I had no shares of Kaprizov, and I was really, really sad heading into it. And that kind of worked out for me. So, maybe the hockey gods are protecting me this year. And I appreciate that.
And sometimes that's what we need. Like, protect you from yourself, from falling too hard for somebody. We've all done it. We've all fallen too hard in a fantasy perspective or in a love perspective, and you learn. You can't fall that hard. But speaking of, falling hard, the Panthers fan base probably about to fall hard for Brad Marchand as he's scheduled to make his debut or may make his debut tomorrow against Utah. That is not confirmed yet, but all indications say he will step on the ice for the Panthers tomorrow night. In the most recent practice where people played, Sam Bennett and Mackie Samoskevich are his line mates. So going to be interesting to see how he affects the Panthers lineup, especially with Tkachuk out right now.
Yeah, that's a lot of angry on one line, Sam Bennett and Brad Marchand. I would have liked Marchand to be out another week because Montreal has a home and home with Florida coming up. So it would be nice if Brad wasn't around for that. But I am interested to see where he slots into that lineup. Now he's going over to Florida. He doesn't have to be the main guy. He doesn't have to go out there and answer every questions every day and be the guy wearing the C. He doesn't have to do any of that. He can play his role, move him a little bit down the lineup, do what you're good at, Brad, live the best life. So
I wouldn't put it past him if he looked at the schedule and was like, you know what, I got a home and home against Montreal. I'd love to stick it to him one more time. Let me come back that Utah game to get my bearings, get my first game out of the way with you guys. He's going to, that's an interesting DFS consideration and prop consideration for those games. Just because you know better than anybody what Marchand does to the Habs. But we'll worry about that next week on Sunday and Tuesday. And finally, as I mentioned at the top of the show, the NCAA hockey tournament kicked off today. It's my third favorite sporting event of the year behind the Stanley Cup Finals and NFL Conference Championship Sunday. I like it better than the Super Bowl. Super Bowl is just too much hype. It's wait all day. I know. NCAA hockey tournament, Frozen Fours in Vegas next year. I'm going to try and get to that. We mentioned the BU trouncing of Ohio State earlier. Right now we got Western Michigan and Minnesota State. For what it's worth, I've got Michigan State over Boston College in the final. Now, what I'd like to do is, we have this fantasy hockey league here, and it's playoff time. Like you said, you can't sleep. Playoffs are here, and let's get that up on the screen. Let's take a look at what's going on in our semifinals here. I've got a 7-4 lead over Gene, who Bill Kaprizov really took a little bit of the teeth out of his sting. Still managed to get to the second round of the playoffs without one of his top guys. So kudos to Gene. And you struggled a little bit here against Frank, Anthony's brother. What's going on? Let's take a look.
Slowly getting there. We've gotten off to a little bit of a slower start. It's still very close. I did pick up Calvin Pickard earlier. I think it was last week or the week before. Stuart Skinner has definitely been letting me down, and now he's hurt. There's still some good matchups here. Edmonton plays Seattle. Seattle's not very good, but yeah, anytime your goalie gets lit up, that's not good. This is bad time for the Oilers to be terrible. But I am indeed very confident still. I know I got the offense to do it. And, Frank, like the goaltending matchup, I feel like in this one is pretty subpar. I would say my goaltending has not been good. I need Saros and Allmark to get lit up like a Christmas tree tonight. That would be ideal. But I'm also not banking on it because that's also unlikely. But yes, there's still lots of time. First of all, it's Thursday. So we got all of Thursday. We got a little bit of Friday, big Saturday, and then everybody takes off Sunday. But all I got to do is just stay the course. That's it. I need the Oilers to be better though. Wake up, because I don't want the Oilers to let me down here. Not at this point. I didn't win 162 games in this league. But if I get bounced in the first round, you know what I mean? It happens. Then I'll just be the Leafs. That's it.
And that'll be your team name for next year. I mean, yeah, when you're looking at your categories here, like, the goals against and the save percentage, it's going to hurt you unless you get some duds out of, like you said, Saros, Olmark, somebody to help balance it out. But every other category is within reach. So, like you said, heavy slate Thursday, heavy slate Saturday, decent size slate Sunday. So, still plenty of time for ground to be made up here. Now, looking at my matchup with Gene, I've been pretty happy with the performance of my team. Jake Wallman getting dealt to the Edmonton Oilers was a nice boon for me, and holding on and being patient with him with the Sharks for a while. When you take a look at the matchup here, so goals could go either way. Assists, I got a little bit of an edge. Power play points, we're tied. Shorthanded points, a big one, because sometimes you win that 1-0. That's all you need. So I've got that. I like that. Doesn't mean it's a lock, but that's a good one to have. Shots on goal, I could see him pulling away. Hits is even, blocks, he's got the lead. I probably won't relinquish there. At least goaltending, I'm okay. Looking at we both got a full slate going tonight, pretty much. One defenseman at vacant, otherwise ready to rock. Goaltending, surprising that the Avalanche are not going to start Kemper tonight against Colorado. David Riddick going maybe has me leaning a certain way. We'll get to picks in a little bit here. And Joel Hofer going for the Blues tonight. He's been playing better lately. He's got both goalies there. So that's also been helping him because they've been red hot lately. So a guy who did not invest much on his goaltending goes to show you come playoff time. If you have a team playing well like the Blues and you have their goalie tandem, you're okay.
Yeah, that matchup looks it's funny because if either one of you were playing in the other matchup, you'd be ahead. Like Gene would be ahead in that one. And so I feel like I gotten a little bit of a break here. Not to say that a matchup with Frank isn't good, but we are the Islanders and the Canucks. It's not the one people are paying attention to yet. And it would be nice that we could like duel this out next week. You know what I mean?
It would be really nice for us to duel it out because, nothing better than two of us going head to head. But I mean, so far I'm doing my part. It's not over yet. I am not sleeping on Gene's team. He finished third without Kaprizov. I mean, that just tells you his team right there. You finished third without Kaprizov. Good for him.
So
see how it goes. We'll have to check in on that next week. A little fantasy update there. Now I want to get to a little Stanley Cup playoff final standing and prediction here. Let's get those up on the screen. There we go. So we're going to talk about your bracket first, Chris. There it is up on the screen for everybody to behold. So you've got Winnipeg making it all the way through here. Our Wests are kind of similar, except for who we both have. I have Dallas. We'll get to mine in a minute, but I have Dallas going all the way through. You have Winnipeg. That's the main difference here. Walk me through this, though.
Yeah, after watching the Canucks and the Flames play, I don't want to see that again after the end of the regular season. So we'll just give it to St. Louis so we can just get rid of them pretty quickly. Also, Dallas and Colorado, just a fantastic matchup. I just think Dallas is a more complete team. Vegas against Minnesota. No offense to Minnesota. I mean, they're just not on the same wavelength right now. And then the Kings and the Oilers. Who knows the status of McDavid and Draisaitl, but that really doesn't matter when Stuart Skinner is a trash can. So it doesn't matter how the best players in the world you may have. We knew that the Oilers were not a good team. This isn't new. I'm not telling you something new. They are bad. So here we are. You know what I mean? But that second round matchup, though, with Winnipeg and Dallas, that's the one that I want to tune into. Is this the year that the Winnipeg Jets finally get over the hump? That's the one I want to. That's the one I want to watch closely.
So I'll explain why I don't think why I have Dallas going all the way out of the West and that. But the shame about Minnesota is if they had a healthy Kaprizov, they would be a very popular upset pick. But I mean, if they get him back somehow, like a week to go in the regular season, and he gets to play a few games, shake some rust off, maybe get his flow going again. I mean, I know Vegas is tough at home, but I don't know. I mean, so that's your West there. Why don't we look at the East for a minute? Because you've got there's one upset that I agree with, and there's one that I would love to see what you're smoking north of the border. And if you want to let me know what that is.
I know you're talking about the Montreal Canadiens and the Washington Capitals. That I know you're sitting there going, how could that possibly be? And that's fair.
Is Yaroslav Halak coming back?
I'm just saying it has happened, right? So some of you think this is impossible, right? We've been here before. We've seen this, right? So like strap in. The Montreal Canadiens are, and when you're an underdog, you're not expected to do much. You just go out there, just play, just have a good time. That's it. We've seen the Montreal Canadiens upset a ton of teams in the playoffs. Completely different beast here. Completely different beast. So I understand it, which is fine. You're allowed to be a doubter, but I have seen this with my own eyes. And I don't think that Montreal Canadiens team was as talented as this one here. So
I'll say two things to that if we're comparing them to that. That was pre-Stanley Cup for the Capitals, and that was the first. I want to say that was their first President Trophy in a while, or at least the first in the Ovechkin era. So increase expectations, the burden of those expectations. We all know how how things go for President's Trophy winners usually. That was a team that probably were a little fat on themselves, and they caught a Canadiens team that was playing good hockey down the stretch. Yaroslav Halak played out of his mind in a few of the games in that series. I remember I was producing night radio at that point, and we would have that Canadiens Capitals on in the studio every night. And every night, Halak was just like, wow, he's stealing this. And it was an 8-1. That was back in the 8-1 days of the formatting. So that now it's a different team. It's a playoff experience team. But I mean, here's the thing, though. If Montreal is, listen, I know everybody assumes Ottawa's in and it's looking more like Montreal's in, but they still got to look in their rearview mirror at the Rangers and the Islanders and the Blue Jackets of the world. They're going to be playing good hockey. They're going to have momentum going in against a Capitals team that, let's face it, they're going to probably lock the division up with a week or so to go. They're not going to they haven't had to sweat in a while. They haven't had to play meaningful hockey in a while. Sometimes that is a recipe for getting upset in the first round. Some people will say, oh, they're rested, they're ready to go, they're focused, they've been through this path before. When you don't have to play competitive hockey for the last 3, 4 or so games of the year, that can have an impact on how you start a playoff series.
Definitely. Also, that year the Montreal beat the Capitals, it was the largest gap between a 1 seed and an 8 seed. So again, I've seen this. Not ready to say that it's an impossible task. The green stuff up here is not as strong as what you think it may be. This isn't just homerism here. This is possibility. Now there's a lot of moving parts to that need to happen, but it's not as far-fetched.
Now let me ask you this: in a world where Montreal leaps Ottawa, takes the top wild card spot, and Ottawa were to play the Capitals, would you give Ottawa a chance to beat the Capitals, or not so much?
The Ottawa Senators, just like Montreal, they need a lot of things to go right. And specifically, they need their offense to produce. Defensively, they got to be better. That's the number one thing. This team has to be defensively sound. They have to play a lot better. I feel like their goaltending is going to be fine. I would still think if there's an upset that's coming, it's going to come at the hands of the Capitals. I feel like that team, like you said, that has to battle for that wild card spot. Every night is a playoff night for them. You're in that mindset already. When you get there, you've already been in it. You're already right. The Capitals don't have to worry about anything. That's their spot. They're locked up. They don't have to worry about a single thing. If I'm looking at a 1 seed that could get bounced, it's likely the Capitals. That's the team that I think can get bounced the easiest.
Well, you have a 1 seed in the other Eastern bracket getting bounced, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, I have the same storyline going here where the Leafs win the division, but they draw the Senators. You get the Battle of Ontario in the first round. And Ottawa is just scrappy and tough enough. And Linus Olmark's there. He knows the Leafs very well. He spent his entire career in the Atlantic Division. I had that same upset on my bracket too there over the Leafs. Because that's just what everybody would expect to happen.
The Leafs don't have the physicality to win in the playoffs. Their goaltending is still very much uncertain. Anthony Stolar should be the starter. There's no question about that. Joseph Woll has not held it down enough. But this Leafs team is just not. That blue line is still Not great. It's not a great blue line. And this is a case of the Leafs having to go out there and score a bunch of goals. And I don't think that's the case. If this comes down to who can throw the most weight around, who can, go out there and compete a little bit harder, the Toronto Maple Leafs are not, they're just not that team.
Now you got a rematch of the Eastern Conference Finals from 2 years ago, Hurricanes Panthers. That was a series where Sergei Bobrovsky redefined standing on his head, if you recall correctly, because the Hurricanes deserved better in that series. They didn't play bad; they just couldn't get a puck in. So you got why Winnipeg over Florida here in your finals? I agree. I've got the Kings running through there too. We'll get to mine in a minute, but you got the Panthers over the Canes. You got the Jets over the Panthers. Why Jets over Panthers?
One, the Stanley Cup needs to come back north of the border, right? We got to bring the metal north here. Tariffs excluded. And this Winnipeg team is good. They have the best goalie. They have the best goalie. This is a very sound defensive team. And offensively, they are deep. They have every little piece that you need to be successful, right? They have their elite goal scorers. They have good centers down the middle who can play both ways. There's nothing flashy about their defensive core, right? They got one stud. They got another good defenseman in Pionk. The rest of them are there. And then they have an absolute workhorse of a goalie. I think the teams that have the workhorse goalies are going to do well. It's just a thing where you know that you're not turning to your backup at any given point. You know the Panthers are not turning to, I don't even know who's Vanacek. That's who's backup. They're not turning there. Eric Comrie is not being an option at that point. These are two teams that are going to roll their goalies out until they fall down. So if you're going to be the best goalie in the league, this is where you earn your paycheck. So this is Connor Hellebuck. All he's got to do is, just stand on his head a little bit. It's not too hard. And none of those teams are what the Colorado Avalanche were last year. The Colorado Avalanche were relentless at getting traffic in front of the net and making life difficult. I don't think the Jets are that kind of team this year. I think they can do a better job of containing it. It's not to say that the path that they have to get to is easier, but to me, they're the better team. They're the deeper team. They should be able to take this.
All right. So one narrative I just thought of in the Wild Vegas Golden Knights series, Philip Gustafson gets hurt. Marc-Andre Fleury off the bench to upset the Vegas Golden Knights in the first round. I mean, talk about a way.
That would be a great story.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to happen, but I mean, that would be pretty cool here. We got State of Survival. Leafs defense is not Stanley Cup caliber. They don't even have a real number 2. No lie there. And we got Frank checking in. Just some chime in. Good luck on our playoffs, even though I need Chris to lose. Of course, I have Leon getting hurt the most important week for me. Yeah, that's the unfortunate timing, but you're still trugging along there.
That is. The fantasy hockey gods may, reward you for that, Frank. So I'm hoping they don't. I'm going to be like, I'll give it a stack here. I'm hoping I'm winning, but I got some work to do. And if I lose to a combination of UC Saros and Linus Ullmark at this point of the year, like, you've earned it.
We're going to have a lot of work to do in our summer mock drafts this year, if that's the case.
If UC Saros ends up becoming elite at this 1 week of the year, I'll fall apart, because he's been a trash can all year, and now all of a sudden he, puts up a fantastic performance. Now he's in line to do that again.
We shall see how the matchup goes. Like we said, we got 4 days left here. 2.5 of them having good slates. We talked about Chris's bracket. Now let's take a look at my bracket. Now you'll see some similarities, but not completely similar here. We both have Winnipeg beating the Blues in the first round. I'll say this, but the way the Blues are playing and the familiarity there, I don't think that they have a chance at beating Winnipeg, but I have to think they're going to make them sweat in that series. A lot of games are going to be close. I think that could go 6. So I think Winnipeg maybe not going to have as easy as a first round. They're not going to have a Dallas, Colorado level first round matchup, but I think they are going to have to earn it a tiny bit there. It's funny how like that Dallas, Colorado matchup, the whole playoffs really just hinge on that, because we talked about how much we love what Colorado did down the middle, even if they overpaid for Brock Nelson, got the second line center, bring in Charlie Coyle. So they got a guy that can play third line center and not middle stat, who is very mediocre. It's just that matchup in the first round. Dallas was already a team I was considering and had real cup aspirations for in terms of expectations. And they had Rantanen. They made the deals they made with the Sharks. I think it's one of those first round matchups that we wish would come later in the playoffs, but it's just not going to happen. Here we are. We both have Vegas and LA there. I think that's a bad matchup for the Golden Knights. I think at some point all these playoff runs have to catch up with them to a degree. And the way the Kings are playing right now, they look very good. I know they've beaten up on some bad teams, but they're a matchup nightmare in the playoffs because they can play however you want to play. And I know we talk about Darcy Kemper not being a great goaltender, but he's been good enough this year and sometimes more than good enough for the Kings. So
he has been fantastic. He has one regulation loss at home. One. We are almost at the beginning of April. That's not normal. I don't know where he came. I don't know where he came from. I was not confident in him at the beginning of the year. You were on the Darcy Kemper train, and I was like, man, that's a way to live life. And so far, so good.
I was on the Darcy Kemper train just because of the team he went to. Like if Darcy Kemper went to, I'm trying to think of another team that like went to Ottawa instead of Linus. No, not a chance. But the Kings were the perfect team for a guy like that to go and play behind because he just has to be good enough every night. He doesn't have to steal any games for the Kings. That's not how they're built. They would appreciate it once in a while, but he doesn't have to there. So and that same thing with when he went in Colorado. He didn't have to. I mean, they had a team capable of scoring 6-7 goals a night. So you don't have to be perfect. You just got to be good enough. So I think a Dallas Kings series in the conference finals would be excellent. Two teams that kind of mirror each other a little bit there. But we'll get to why Dallas over Carolina in a second. Let's go through the East, and we'll get to tonight's 10-game slate. I don't have the upset prediction there of the Capitals there. I think they do enough to get through that first round. I don't think anybody's really picking the Devils with their injuries. So there we go with the Hurricanes. I like the way the Hurricanes are built. If the Capitals have one matchup in the playoffs that it's going to be bad for them, that would be one of them right there. So give me the Hurricanes over the Capitals there. I do think they're susceptible to being beat. I think that's where it comes. Going out of another bracket, we already talked about Ottawa, Toronto, and the physicality, and just that would be very least like for Ottawa. It's just not a great matchup for them. Here's where I maybe have a little bit of a controversial play here or pick is the Panthers going out in the first round to the Lightning. Now, listen, I know the Panthers are a better team than Tampa, but when a rivalry with rivalries, that stuff goes out the window to me. And I know it may not get a lot of attention. You know, it's two Florida teams. I know the Stanley Cup's gone through Florida a lot the last couple of years, but Tampa and Florida, that's a tough matchup there. I like what Tampa did it going out at the deadline, basically adding a third line. Vasilevsky's been playing, for the most part, very, very well over the last month or two. I think maybe some of this, at some point, all this hockey that Florida's played, Stanley Cup run last year against the Oilers, Stanley Cup against the Golden Knights the year before that. These deep playoff runs sometimes will catch up with you. And having to deal with a team like Tampa in the first round. So, yeah, I know we joke around about, the Leafs winning the first round, winning the division. It's useless because they're not going to get out of the first round. But for a team like Florida, I think it makes all the difference in the world. We get a Kachuk Bowl, which would be great. I mean, that's one of the only times Ottawa would get TV ratings in the States. I just think for Florida, if they have to deal with Tampa in the first round, it's not a good matchup for them. I think Tampa pulls through. Tampa would get through Ottawa, and then they run into Carolina. I think that would be a good series. But I got a Dallas-Carolina final there, and Carolina finally breaks through and gets there. But Dallas is they're too strong. Dallas would need to sustain some serious injuries before I'd have to pull off of them.
The TV ratings, though, of Dallas and Carolina would probably be a little, maybe not great, but the story would be of Mikko Rantanen.
Exactly.
And that, I think, is that. I mean, that's something. That would be good. I will say this, though. I need a detailed essay as to how you think Carolina is getting past the Capitals, because the Carolina, no offense to the Carolina Hurricanes, but that offense is not, it's not it. Right? Defensively, they are who they are. Their goaltending is on Kochetkov and the ghost of Freddie Anderson. So I need you to explain this in detail to me, because you're like the Montreal Canadiens can't get past the Capitals. And then, like, everybody's going to get past New Jersey because they're hurt. If New Jersey was healthy, this would be a whole different conversation, but they're not. But I fail to see in which aspect the Carolina Hurricanes are better than the Washington Capitals. Because I'm gonna give it a stack. I think if Montreal beats the Capitals, I'm not saying they would cruise past Carolina, but that series will be a lot closer than a lot of people want to give it credit to. So please explain this to me in a way that I can understand.
All right, as long as I don't have to type it up. I don't want to. I'm not. I haven't had to write a paper, and I don't know how long. I'm not writing you a paper.
Okay.
I could type fast, but I just don't got
just
the
like
time.
a couple of bullet points, so I could just throw it into Chat GPT and see if you're even close.
What I think is going to happen here with the Capitals, I don't have the same handicap of the series as you do with the Canadians. I think, maybe they, the theme of them coasting through the season, maybe they coast through a first round series and they get a Carolina Hurricanes team, which, listen, I know the goaltending is hanging on by a thread when you're talking about Freddie Anderson's health, literally. I just don't like that matchup for the Capitals. I think Carolina is built to try and shut down a team like Washington. They're not built to outscore you. And I think it's just going to become a defensive, grinded out type of game. And that's what Carolina is comfortable playing with. Not that Washington can't play that way. I just think that's the kind of hockey that if you have to play it that way, Carolina can take it in a series there. I think they're strong enough to get to the Stanley Cup Finals, but I do think, I'm ready to say Dallas, Colorado, Winnipeg, whoever survives that bracket, that's who's winning the Stanley Cup this year. I don't think anybody's taking it out of the East. I just don't. I don't have that much faith in anyone out of the East.
See, that I can get on board with. But as I'm looking at the Carolina Hurricanes remind me of Team Finland at the Four Nations. Really good team, just not up to par with anybody that they'll have to run through at that point. That's just, they're not. There's too many holes. Kotkaniemi's their second line center. That's not it. We'll see how Andrei Svechnikov's health is. He probably slots in somewhere into the top 6. You want Jackson Blake off the top line. He's young. He'll get there at some point. Stankoven hasn't taken that spot since he's come over. And I mean, I'm not banking on Taylor Hall and whatever it is. To me, it's the defense that's starting to get a little bit weary here. Shane Gostisbehere is not out there to play defense. We know the role that he plays. Brent Burns is like 87 now. So wear and tear on that body is going to show. I just don't feel like defensively they'll be able to limit the Capitals enough. Yes, those games will be close. Probably hit the under in a lot of them, but the Capitals have enough depth and enough secondary scoring to get it done.
There's another thing I'll say too. I mean, listen, I know, Carolina's not a sexy team. They've got the 4th best point total in the league right now. 5th best point total, if I could count 5 correctly. They would be just behind a point behind Colorado in that stacked Central Division. They'd be in 2nd place, a point ahead of the Kings in the Pacific. They'd lead the Atlantic by a point right now. So, and they're in 2nd place. There's no shame in being 2nd place behind a team that's got 103 points in 71 games. So I think they're flying under the radar a bit, and I think that suits them. I think that's what they want. I don't think they want to come into a series with the Devils situation's a little different. There's nobody that's going to expect it. I think they're going to benefit from being overlooked. They're that kind of squad and I think that can come into play there. So a lot can happen here. Injuries can happen in the next couple of weeks. Seeding can change. Somebody could go cold on a losing streak. Somebody could go. I don't think the Metropolitan standings are going to change all that much. I think this is what we're going to see here, besides maybe not Montreal. Maybe it's, maybe they jump to the top wild card team. Maybe we see a different team there. I do think I think Capitals, Hurricanes, if you're betting on 2nd round matchups, it's Vegas, Los Angeles, or Washington, Carolina. Those are the 2 that you could probably hammer the most before the odds get terrible.
I'm not going to take anything away from the Carolina Hurricanes. I just don't think they're that great. I think they'll get exposed at some point, and then just be absolutely terrible in the playoffs. So that's it.
Did not mean to take you off there. Hit the wrong button there for a minute. Wasn't trying to mute you. Like if this,
I get it. That's fine. He's like, you know what? Just that's it. Deport him.
This is not like Around the Horn. May that show. It's got its last run coming up here. One of the iconic, late afternoon sports talk TV shows. It will be missed. There's Faulty Synapse. Burns' famous starfish maneuver will show up at some point. Burns, he's got to try and get his final Stanley Cup run going here. He's not getting any younger. He's not a spring chicken. Let's get to Thursday picks, though. I know this is why some people tune in. They want their picks. They want their plays. Let's get to it. We got the Utah Hockey Club plus 173 on the money line at Tampa minus 194. Total there is a 6. Chris, any leans, picks on this one?
Not enough. Not enough to care. Tampa Bay probably wins this one. I'm not swallowing that juice. That's too much for me. So probably not as high scoring as we think it will be. Not enough to lean on the under. Like an empty net goal could hit the over, like the push. It's just nothing that really excites me for this one.
I do like the under in this one. I got, with Vasilevsky, Vejmelka, Utah still has something to play for. They still have something to believe. I think we'll get a buckle down game there. I'll take the Lightning to win in regulation, though, at minus 135. It's still not too juiced yet. That's probably last train for that at minus 135. But yeah, and I don't want to do the puck line because I could see Utah maybe keeping it close, but maybe you parlay the under in a regulation win, and hopefully that gets you home with the Tampa and the Utah Hockey Club. If you wanted to go over, it's the same thing, minus 110. I had to think about that one for a little bit, but I do like Tampa in both regards there. Now, your Montreal Canadiens, minus 131 on the money line. Flyers, home dogs, plus 118. The total there is 6. You're looking to make some money on the puck line. If you think Montreal can really get a hammer at home, it's plus 190. John Tortorella just fired. We all know that philosophy of coach fired, team usually wins right after that. Now, that isn't always the case. If the coach was beloved and he gets fired, then usually maybe the team doesn't, maybe the team comes out pissed off to prove a point, but usually they don't. That locker room is going to be so happy to not have Tortorella in it. I got to put at least a half a unit on the Flyers for no other reason than that Tortorella is out of the locker room. They got that group text amongst the Flyers today was probably buzzing.
Yeah, I'm also afraid that they might just let Mishkov loose and he ends up playing like 19 or 20 minutes or something. I can't lay money on the Montreal Canadiens here. They were horrendous against St. Louis. They were pretty bad for a team that's fighting for a playoff spot. That was a really poor performance. So, and I would maybe lean a little bit more on the over here, just because the Flyers give up so many goals. Montreal hasn't done a really good job of keeping the puck out of their own nets. Dobas is getting another start. He hasn't played in like 2 weeks. They keep rolling out Montembeault because, I guess Marty St. Louis thinks that he can be a workhorse, which he is not. But I just don't. Yeah, I can't trust the Montreal Canadiens to win. I would love for them to win, but I can't lay it. 131 is a little bit too rich for my liking, so I would probably lean a little bit on the over. At worst, you got to push. No harm, no foul done here, but that's about it.
Try to make you feel better about the over. Samuel Ersson starting tonight, and he gave up 7 against the Leafs the other night. It has an 882 save percentage on the season. So,
yeah, but that doesn't mean the Montreal Canadiens can score goals. So,
I think because I do think the over 6 is not a bad way to go here because you probably will get somewhat of a track meet there. It's minus 110 currently. So there you go. I got Flyers money line just based on the whole they'll be playing looser, freer, more happy hockey. Chris has got the over. We go to Senators, Red Wings, an important matchup in the Eastern Conference wildcard race as the Red Wings are circling the drain while Ottawa's looking to secure that top wildcard spot. Both teams have been playing poorly lately. This is just a total stay away spot for me here. I thought about the under, but I'm not touching this one.
The under? Who's stopping the puck for the Wings?
Alex Lyon.
Exactly. No, over. What are we talking about? This game has massive playoff implications. Yet both these teams are so miserable defensively that they're not going to figure out that that's how they have to play. The Senators and Red Wings are more likely to get into a track meet because that's all they can do. The Senators, by the way, really good power play. The Wings can't defend on the penalty kill. Their penalty kill is horrendous. If this game gets out of hand, and referees start taking one, power play goals are going to go in left, right, and center. The only thing that ruins this is if Linus Ullmark stands on his head like he did I think it was the last time these two teams met, when he made like a 48, 49 save performance. I need that to not happen because I need the over to hit. And because Frank has Ullmark starting tonight in fantasy. So I need Ullmark to get lit up like a Christmas tree, preferably. And I need the Senators to figure it out. So let's go, track meet. That's what I'm looking forward to.
And yes, thank you for Dylan Holloway. That was a guy that, as you see Frank's comment there, I went crazy on him in pretty much all my leagues because you could see him starting to take off, and on a team that didn't have a ton of offense, he was providing it. So yeah, I wanted in on Holloway. I'm glad I got him. It's been very helpful for me in many leagues there. But yeah, you've got the over on this game. The reason why I shy away or lean under is sometimes when you get these two teams that are very much battling for playoff position, especially with one another, they tend to maybe focus a little more defensively, buckle down. But I don't have that vibe here. I'm just totally staying away from this one. Now,
even if the Red Wings tried to play defense,
that's a fair point.
They can't. They can't. Their blue line is miserable. And Alex Lyon is starting. You're giving this team way too much credit. Which means that it's 100% finishing 3-1 now. Just because I'm so happy about this over.
I am guilty of giving Ullmark a little too much credit at times, and maybe I'm doing that here. Nonetheless, I'm not. There's nothing I'm betting on that one. Two teams here that have no business playing better hockey lately. The Penguins 6-1 thrashing by Tampa aside. Buffalo and Pittsburgh playing much better hockey here. They're winning some games down the stretch. I'm not going to try and pick a winner here between Tristan Jarry and James Reimer, but I'm going to take the over at total 6. I mean, you asked the question, who's going to score? Both teams got guys capable of putting the puck in the net. So in a Reimer Jarry matchup, I know Jarry's been playing better. Give me the over 6.
I don't know in what universe you think Jarry's playing better, but I like you. Well, I mean, you look, 1 is more than 0. You're absolutely right. But I mean, Tristan Jarry has been an absolute trash can, and he has given up 3 or more goals in his last 5. He didn't finish the last game. So again, kudos to you for thinking he is. This game has all the ratings of 7-5. Like, it's just not that I trust the Sabres to score goals because they have nobody in their lineup, but the Penguins as well. This team, if they can't score against James Reimer, I mean, just relegate them somewhere. I don't know. Send them to Division 2 in Lithuania for all I care. Some books have them at 6.5 as well. So if you can still find it at 6 and get the push, do so. But I am on the same wavelength as you here. This has over on it. This over could be done before the second period even ends.
I'm seeing at if you want 6.5, it's -105 at Caesars. 6 is -120 in a lot of spots still. So
120 is still decent. Still decent.
Yeah, like anything under -130 is worth it. -130 to me is where it's like, all right, am I really doing this outside of a parlay? Probably not. Looking at the Capitals and the Wild tonight, Ovi looking to score number 890 against the Wild at +124 money line home dogs. Capitals money line -138, total 5.5. If you think anybody's going to cover on the puck line here, let's take a look at that. Capitals -1.5 +185. And then looking at the starting goaltending matchup tonight here between the Capitals and the Wild, we're looking at a matchup between Charlie Lindgren and Philip Gustafsson.
I would have preferred it not be Charlie Lindgren, just because Logan Thompson is better. But the 138 that number's too low. I mean, the Capitals here are 23-8-3 on the road this season. That is phenomenal. So the Wild are still missing key parts of their team. Maybe this is a low-scoring event, but the Capitals come away with it at some point. It's not a question of if, in my mind. It's a question of when. So I will gladly take the Capitals to cover. This one could go to overtime, though, just because of how uneventful it will be. But I also trust the Capitals in overtime because Ovi's going to play like 3.5 of the 5 minutes anyways.
There's a stay away spot for me, but yeah, I could definitely see. I get the vibe on this being an under, but I'm not putting anything in on this one. Should be a good one to watch. Maybe not the most exciting hockey, but should be a close competitive one there. Western Michigan, by the way, up 1-0 on Minnesota State on a snipe from Valente. Let's go on to the Nashville Predators. The St. Louis Blues are hosting the Frozen Four this year. They'll be on the road when that's going on, but they are in Nashville tonight. Road favorites -136. The Predators are +122. Total 5.5 there. Joel Hofer going tonight for the Blues. And it looks like UC Saros here. Not confirmed yet, but we can assume it'll probably be Saros going again tonight. Looking at the puck line, if you think the Red Hot Blues can cover by 2, it's +190. I mean, sometimes you get these division matchups. Nashville's been playing slightly better lately. St. Louis is on a roll. It would be tempting to take them on the puck line, but I'm going to go safe here. I'll take them to win in regulation. Still getting them at plus money at +110.
Could care less who wins this game, but that 5.5 total, if you go over 5.5, it's at plus money. Now, the Blues have been playing a lot better. Maybe the Montreal Canadiens were absolutely miserable, but the St. Louis Blues really came out and they put the puck in the back of the net. Let's not get it twisted here. The Predators are still terrible. So I'm not buying one game from UC Saros. Am I a little bit biased as well because Frank has UC Saros and I need him to get lit up as well? Yes. But he's been getting lit up all year anyways. And for what it's worth, the Predators are a improved team on home ice. They play better on home ice. Philip Forsberg, 60% of his points come at home. So and Joel Hofer's not good. I don't know. I just don't know who thinks he is. So this game, if you're asking me if these teams can combine for 2 goals a period, yes, I think that is possible.
The last time the Blues failed to score at least 4 goals in a game, you have to go back to March 8th against the Kings.
Okay, so they have been red hot and cooking. And UC Saros and the Predators are not going to slow that down. There's no Roman Josi in the lineup. No.
The Predators, on the other hand, looking at their recent games, they've been, they scored 5 against Toronto. They got 3 against Carolina. That's not always easy to do. They did just play the Blues recently 4-1. That game went under. So yeah, that would fit my opposites narrative to play the over at 5.5, and you're getting it at plus money. Maybe that's Vegas trying to trick you there a little bit, but looks good to me on paper. Looking at the Stars and the Flames here. Stars -129 road favorites. Flames +116 at home. Looking at the goaltending matchup tonight, it's going to be Dustin Wolf. We're going to assume Casey DeSmith since Jake Ottinger went last night, even though not confirmed. That's probably the case there. If we're looking for anything on the puck line here, Dallas, the cover a puck-and-a-half +185. Calgary getting a puck-and-a-half is too juiced here. Do you have anything on this one? I kind of lean the under, but I also feel like this is one of those games where like it reads under, but then it goes over.
That is definitely, look, in the 2 games that they've played this season, both of them have been in Dallas. Dallas has won both of them. The Stars are decent on the road. They're decent, but this is a back-to-back for them. I'm not putting the same stock into Casey DeSmith as I am in Jake Ottinger. And Dustin Wolf is good. The problem is his team can't score. That's the number one problem. His team provides him with 0 offense. So I don't know. The under is definitely the tempt. I would lean a little bit on the Flames here. This is a back-to-back for the Stars. They're not a bad team. They've played really well, but they were up 4-0 on the Oilers. And the Oilers made it a game. That finished 4-3. And no McDavid, no Draisaitl. That should not have happened. A little bit of a weak moment of weakness there. If it wasn't for Jason Robertson's natty hattie, this would have been a whole different conversation. So I'm willing to lean on the Flames here just a little bit because I think there's just enough value there to get it done.
And they've won 4 in a row. They beat the Rangers and the Devils and the Islanders on the road. They swept I forget if they had ever done that before. I don't think they had swept all 3 teams on a New York area trip, and then they beat Seattle 4-3 in overtime. The Islanders game also coming in overtime as well. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, maybe that is a good spot to maybe get on the Flames a little bit there. Probably the game of the night, Kings at Avalanche here. Yes. Kings absolutely on fire lately. So the Avalanche. Colorado are winners of 5 of their last 6 and 6 or 11 of their last 12 or whatever that is. The Kings, on the other hand, also coming in red hot here. They have won, looking at this here, 4 in a row. and 9 of their last 10. If you look at the opponents the Kings have been playing, like I know they smacked around Carolina pretty good, 7-2, but it was Boston, it was New York, it was Chicago, Nashville. They barely got by 1-0 in overtime. The Capitals win was impressive. Islanders. To me, I think this is this might be a spot where they're playing David Riddick tonight. So maybe this is a spot where the Avalanche can get business done in regulation. Money line's too much. I don't feel confident in a puck line. I think that might be going a little far, but get the Avalanche at -105 to take care of business in regulation. I think this is a nice spot for that.
I know we don't like to swallow 147, but I will, because David Rittich is playing, and he has a .890 save percentage on the year, which is not good. Goals against average is respectable. .890 save percentage means he is a problem. He is the problem, and he's going to be a problem tonight. Colorado is good on home ice. We know this. They are going to skate the Kings just to the ground here, and they're going to come out. They're going to get the matchup that they want. McKinnon, I mean, his home point streak now is like 20 plus some odd games. So like pencil him in for another point. He scored that power play goal last game like he didn't even care. He looked like me on a 10:30 game on a Monday. Just like he just chucks in the net. He's like, I don't care. And his team was winning. And I'm like, the man could care less. And I love that. I do believe this is going to be a tough matchup. I'm not willing to swallow the in regulation because I do think that is bait. So I will swallow the 147 though. I'm willing to do it here because I trust the Avalanche on home ice, right? They're 24-10, right? Whereas the Kings are 14, 18, and 5 on the road. Not good. They have 40 wins. Only 14 have come on the road. That's a problem.
And to me, that's why this is a good spot to maybe get Colorado. I think maybe the Kings are punching up a little, not punching up, but just compared to what they're playing late or have been playing lately, going into Denver, a mile high adjustment, all that stuff. Yeah, I think this is a spot where I think maybe Colorado can get business done in regulation. I don't want to lay. You're willing to swallow the -147 to go to overtime and have that. I'm not willing to swallow the -147. I think either way, we're both on the Avalanche tonight, so we see eye to eye there. Got the Oilers and the Kraken. Oilers -125 road. A lot of road favorites today. At the Kraken +112. The total 6. Looking at the starting goaltending matchup tonight, it's Joey Daccord against Calvin Pickard. For me in this game, maybe an under. But I'm not staying away from this one. The last game I have a good bet, a fair amount of confidence in, but this one I'm not touching this one.
I'm having so much difficulty trusting the Kraken because they are so miserable, and Joey Daccord has been a big problem. He can't stop the puck. Can't stop it. And if he's not stopping it, the Kraken are not giving him any goal support. Now, the Oilers are playing the tail end of a back-to-back. They didn't look good for 2 periods against Dallas. Well, that's false. They tried, but Stuart Skinner wasn't giving him any support. Calvin Pickard is going to play this game. I think he might be better, but no McDavid, no Draisaitl. This game becomes very boring very fast. I can't get with the under 6 just because I can't. I can't trust Joey Daccord enough to keep his stuff in order. So if anything, I was going to lean Kraken here just because they are the rest of the team. They are at home. No McDavid, no Draisaitl. Anytime you don't have your 2 best players, I feel like you got to at least take a dart on the other team because it's McDavid and Draisaitl. It's not like you and I are missing from this team. These are the 2 best players in the world. So if the Kraken can't beat them minus their 2 best players on home ice, then like what are we doing? What's even the point?
Before I throw the last game at you, let me ask you this question. Stuart Skinner, he'll probably be back soon. It's Pickard tonight anyway. It was a back-to-back. How long is Stuart Skinner's leash in the first round series against Kings, Golden Knights? Like, is it one bad game and it's off to Pickard? Like,
his leash should be as long as my leash is for Milo, which is not very long, right? Because Milo gets distracted by squirrels, other dogs, people. So I got to keep him close. That's the leash for Stuart Skinner right now. He has to be good, and he's not. So if Calvin Pickard starts running and he starts being good, that's it. We saw Stuart Skinner lose his job in the playoffs last year. Don't think Chris Knobloch isn't ready to say, "Hey, I'll do it again." So this could be. I could see Calvin Pickard coming out and saying, "Hey, man, this is my net. I want it." Whether he's good or not is neither here nor there. It doesn't matter. To me, he's not. But is he less terrible than Stuart Skinner? Maybe. That's why I'm afraid. That's why I'm just leaning here on the Kraken, because maybe Pickard comes out, plays absolutely fantastic, and this finishes like 2-0 because the Kraken can't score.
That's why I lean under there. And last but not least, or maybe least, depending upon your perspective, the San Jose Sharks are hosting the Toronto Maple Leafs, plus 215 home dogs. The Leafs minus 243 on the road. If you're looking at a total there, it's at 6. One of my plays here, Leafs minus a puck and a half, plus 105. Somehow that was still at plus money. It was probably one of the last stops for it. But and listen, I understand you're looking at a goaltending matchup tonight where it's Joseph Woll versus Alexander Georgiev. And yeah, the over is probably an easy way to go here too. I can't see the Leafs not blowing out the Sharks tonight. I just can't see it.
I want to believe that too, right? I want to believe that Joseph Woll and the rest of the gang can figure it out. Now, the good news is John Tavares is red hot. So that makes me feel good. What also makes me feel good is that Alexander Georgiev is terrible. I do think that the 6 is interesting because the Leafs could very well, just like you said, smack them right out of the water, and it wouldn't shock me at all. I do think it's interesting that it is a 1.5 puck line. I think that is, I don't know, generous a little bit. I'm going to go one step further here. Like if we do this, Toronto, we're going to do this. You know what I mean? We're going to go all out here. I'm going to take them minus 2.5. I'm going to take them to win by 3 because that's plus 200. So if we're going to do this, Toronto, we're going to do this, right? Austin Matthews doesn't score as much on the road, but he is a distributor of the puck. Apparently, when he goes on the road, it doesn't matter. Now he's he's Adam Oates, just passing it around and everything. So if you're looking for a prop, Austin Matthews over assist. Apparently, when he's not home, he's just like, I don't really care anymore. I'll just dish it out to everybody. And because John Tavares has been scoring, Willie Nylander, Matthew Nyes, there's enough there. I need Joseph Woll to be good, and I need Alexander Georgiev to be a toilet. So if we're doing this, Toronto, we're doing it right. Okay, 2.5. That's it. That means we're probably not going to get the empty netter, right? Because even if it is close, like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The Sharks are not pulling their goalie when they're down 2. They're like, we expect this. This is the expectation. So I need the Leafs to lock in. Okay.
Now we're being asked if this was a trap game.
100%.
Because they do have the Kings coming up next. That's a good team. I don't think it's a West Coast road trip. I think when teams go on the California trip, when they do the San Jose, LA, Anaheim all in one stop, I think they just kind of view those. Obviously, there's a difference between the Kings and then the Sharks and the Ducks. But if the game coming up was a Florida game, a Tampa game, yeah, I would worry about the trap game potential. But I don't worry about that here with the Kings. That's a team they're not worried about until a potential Stanley Cup final matchup. Good banter in the chat, though, because we get more like a crap game there instead of a trap game. Also very true. The Sharks are already playing more kids in the lineup. Yeah, they're very much getting a look at what they got for next year. That's definitely what they're in there. So
the problem is with the kids, though? They got legs. They can play. They have to do something. They have jobs that are on the line. They know Georgiev's given up 4. Let's just pencil Georgiev in for 4. Like, that means that the Leafs can only give up 1. So, again, I need Joseph Woll to pretend that he's good. I would have preferred this be Anthony Stolarz, but I understand what Toronto is doing. Say, hey, give Joseph Woll the gimme, right? Let him feel good about himself, and then run, Stolarz out there against the Kings at home where you really need a good goaltending performance. So I get that.
And then they have a back-to-back with the Ducks on Sunday, so Woll's going to get another chance unless he's totally abysmal tonight. So he's going to go on Sunday there. So they're trying to give him some reps too down the stretch here before what's a very tough run because they go. The Leafs go Florida, Columbus, Florida, Tampa, Montreal, Carolina before they get Buffalo and Detroit to wrap the season. So they're going to look forward to a tax day here in the United States, April 15th at Buffalo, because that'll mean that stretch is over. But yeah, Sharks are already playing more kids in the lineup, as Faulty Synapse said. If you're looking for some sort of Georgiev positive nugget, he did stop 22 or 23 against the Bruins. And he
against who?
The Bruins. And he did beat the Leafs earlier this year. At stopping 25 or 27 in a 3-2
The Bruins are frauds. That team should be relegated. That team did not put up a fight against the Ducks. If you get outshot against the Anaheim Ducks, you get sent to the AHL. The whole team. It doesn't matter. The Bruins are miserable. Good for Brad Marchand for at least getting a chance to go on a cup run somewhere. Because I didn't fall for it. Some people are like, no, Bruins got this. The Bruins are terrible. They don't have anything.
It's like we've said the last, on Total Hockey Now and then Better Hockey Now previously. The Bruins are a team we've been waiting for that, Florida fall open up and for them to drop. And they had that historic season. But it was trending this direction and it all hit them at once. It was not gradual. They went from being a team that, maybe had a chance against the Panthers in the playoffs last year to boom. It's done. They have not really been a team we've thought about as a playoff team here since we flipped the calendar.
Minus 110, Austin Matthews, 1 assist tonight.
Just should happen.
Take it to the bank, man. You could probably safely spend that money. You can go to the grocery store, buy the eggs in advance. It's fine. The check will hit towards, early 1 a.m. on the East Coast here.
But it'll cash, nonetheless.
It'll cash. It should.
Hopefully. So there we go. We got another Total Hockey Now in the books here. What do we got coming up on the Slapshot podcast?
We are going to look at the Montreal Canadiens' remaining schedule, and we're going to try to accurately predict if they are a playoff team or not. I think they are. I would also like to see Samuel Montembeault play fewer games. He's not a workhorse. So we'll dig into that. We'll play a little bit of puck doku as well. You also don't want to burn Montembeault out before the playoffs. You don't want to use him up to get there. Then, the Capitals are just like, okay, this guy's tired. Let's jump him. There are not many teams in the league that have a true workhorse goalie. These players are unicorns. They're rare. You can't turn them into one. You're either born one or you're not, right? The Connor Hellebucks of the world, the Andre Vasilevskis of the world. I'll throw Igor into that conversation, Sturkin as well. These guys were born like this, man. And I don't know. Sammy Montembeault shouldn't be playing upwards of, 50, 60 games a year. That's just not, it's not for him.
I'm trying to find another workhorse goalie in the NHL. I think you covered all of them. I think that's really it. I mean, maybe Dustin Wolf can become that guy, with the way he's trending. But yeah, I mean, you look at all the other teams and there's no, UC Saros maybe gets a little lost in the sauce. He's a workhorse guy, not on a good team. He is a workhorse guy, but yeah, there's really nobody else in the league. Islanders, even with Sorokin, they would
60-40 split is what a lot of teams look for today. There's probably a reason behind it. But like Montembeault's been playing so many games of late. And you saw yesterday, there was one where, it just hits his glove. No, sorry, Tuesday. Hits his glove and it just like shanks off and goes into the net. And I'm like, buddy, you're exhausted. Like you're tired. And then they pulled him with like 9 minutes left. Dobes comes in. I'm like, well, now we're here. Just finish. You know what I mean? Just finish. You're here. You know what I mean? We're here. And I was afraid he was going to get the start today. So give him some rest, man. Come on, Marty. Give Sammy some rest.
Got to win the games, but you got to keep your goalies rested too, especially younger guys that haven't played this much maybe in their career up to this point, where he's getting a little bit extra work time and time on the ice. So there you go for the Slapshot podcast coming up, and then Rip and Riff tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of baseball. It is opening day. Jared's a big Yankee and baseball guy. I'm a Yankee fan too, but Rangers and Jets are the top two for me. We'll be, what do we got ripping up tomorrow? I got a pack of baseball cards. Jared's got baseball. I got some college basketball cards. Let's not forget that's going on as well. So, yeah, it'll be a fun time on Rip and Riff tomorrow. Probably one of the last non-hockey episodes for the next couple of months as the playoffs begin to ramp up here. But been a fun one today, Chris. You got the Canadians beating the Capitals in the first round. We're going to see how that works out for you if that is indeed the matchup.
I'm excited for Capital fans to leave their comments because you guys know it's true. You guys know it's true. You've done it once, it means you can do it twice.
And if you're going to pick, a team that's ripe for an upset, you can say Winnipeg hasn't gotten beat before. Winnipeg knows what they're up against in the second round. They don't, when they beat the first round, they know they're up for it in the second round. And that's not to say the Capitals don't know they're up for it, but maybe they get caught looking ahead to Carolina. Who knows? We'll find out. We got a couple of weeks left in the NHL regular season here to see how things shake out. But for at Fuzzy Chris 91, Christopher Merez, I am at Pucking Thoughts Adam Bernard. We're back with you with an all new episode of with Total Hockey Now next week on the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel.